Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am so pleased that you are able to join me this fine evening. Do my eyes deceive me? Those empty expressions staring into worlds beyond your own, just look at yourselves. You're drooling on my alchemical workspaces. That settles it. I know exactly what ailment infects you all. It is boredom! It is simply baffling that any of you could be bored at this moment of the arcane, when my delving has wrought phenomena that are best left unspoken. I have learned much of the hidden world and what it holds, but that is best left for another day. I know your desire for entertainment must be sated this day as well. I normally recite all the numbers of some pastry, which numerologists always boast about, and after about 1 minute, your boredom will be cured. Too tough? I forget that not all can even comprehend the magnitude of my superior intellect. I believe I will have to delve into simpler mindsets to cure you all. As luck has it, I have yet to recalibrate my alchemic scrying tools, so you will be the perfect control group. Mixing some mint and honey, we shall recover by listening to a Ramble Shamble.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to another fabulous episode of Ramble Shamble. You have clicked on this episode expecting some amazing topic discussions, and we as Ramble Shamble, we hope to at least get somewhere near there. As always, I am joined by Jotun. Say hello, Jotun.
Hello, everybody.
Yay. So guys, we've done this many times before. I'm probably going to give my shtick at the end of the episodes from now on, starting from this episode going forth, just because myself and Jotun discussed and said, you guys don't need to hear us mention a shtick every beginning and end of every episode. So who knows? I might spice it up by putting it in the beginning and maybe spice it at the end. Who knows? But we're going to skip all that random stuff on the side. But yes, Jotun, you had a recent trip that was really interesting. I know you described most of it, but you got to see quite a few things. Anything that you have not shared with me, and perhaps maybe it will be interesting to discuss now?
I tried boxing for the first time.
What? No ways. How was it?
Yeah, it was quite interesting because a lot of the movements that you need in order to do boxing are, at least in my opinion, quite counterintuitive. So you need to completely close up your body's stance, and it's almost like you end up duck walking, if you remember what that is, because you need to tilt your feet inward towards a central line, almost orthogonal to a central line. And it's just very weird because I don't know how to describe it, but it just feels odd. And while you're doing it, your heels need to be flicking outwards in contrary motion the whole time as well. So you end up building a kind of a pendulum's oscillation between from side to side and with your punches. So it was just very counterintuitive to me. And it was a bit difficult to focus on what the instructor was telling me to do and pay attention to my footwork at the same time. So yeah, it was a fun, interesting, challenging experience, but I think that I need to put more time into it. I actually want to get myself boxing gloves and pads and a boxing bag as well, or a heavy bag.
Okay, interesting, because I was about to ask just to clarify if it was kickboxing or standard boxing. So, judging by the fact that you said that you want to buy gloves, I assume it's standard boxing. Am I correct?
Standard.
Yeah.
Yeah, not bare knuckle, not kickboxing. Just basic stuff for the thick man over here.
No,
I can only learn so much.
Well, I actually think that boxing actually would suit you quite well. But I would assume that kickboxing, because I know you have that amazing stamina. And I also played not played. I also did some boxing when I was a little bit younger. Was taught by my father a little bit of like certain punch styles and stuff. But yeah, I know what you mean. Is that boxing it's a very challenging sport, and to be fair, I think you have the stamina to keep it up. Where I'm still working up. I'm been exercising, doing personal training. But yeah, no, that's very interesting. I didn't know you did boxing. I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And
It was. There was quite a moment where I became a bit chuffed with myself
oh,
because
nice.
the instructor had been working with slow people the entire week, and he said to me, he was quite happy because it was the first time that he got a workout because of how active his student was.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, because I mean, if someone like me with a lot of stamina is really going all out, then it's kind of like, I think, working battle ropes to an extent, because your pecs and your lats are constantly engaged in order to block what the other person is doing. So I think that was the main workout that he was getting. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Like my right knuckle for the middle finger was completely swollen the next day, and my
Ooh.
forearm was also really stiff, like down the radius.
Oh, nice. No, I'm glad you had a chance to explore something that's out of the box. It's always something to keep your interest up and learn something new. But yes, that kind of ties into today's topic, which the audience will most likely know is boredom. How to cure it. Boredom, the ultimate disease that plagues every mind, and in some ways may be good for you? Question mark. Who knows? But yes, I chose the topic, so yes, I am the host of this episode. For the people that don't know, we generally have one host. That's whoever says hello at the beginning of the episode. So, Jotun, boredom hits everyone, and I don't think there's one person on the planet Earth that has never experienced boredom. But me and you are quite. I would like to think that we are the, how to say, out of the box thinkers. Maybe the ones that do things in a slightly weirder way than the most average Joe would normally do. Who knows? I might just be trying to put us on a nice pedestal, but that might be false. But Jotun, boredom. What's your view on it? Do you think it's a good thing? Is it a bad thing? What's your ultimate view on boredom?
I think that boredom is actually a bad thing. I think it's a sign of not being stimulated enough. Yeah, because if you think about it, a lot of people become bored because they are doing something, but it's just not enough. Would you like me to give an example of myself, or
Oh,
leave that for an answer?
I'll get to that just yet. So I did some research. Well, I also saw it on TV while watching it with the family, and some scientists claim that boredom is actually a good thing for us. The reasoning behind it is that it forces the person to do something, because when you're bored, you often feel a little bit underwhelmed. So you start thinking of what I could actually be doing right now, and it's in that way people say, or some scientists state, is that that's a good thing, because that means you're more creative when you come to a certain problem. And yeah, it is a weird way of thinking it. Like, I agree with you more than what the scientists state. I do believe that being stimulated 24/7 of your day, I don't know, like you mentioned before, is that you like to go outside for a walk, and that's a way for your mind to kind of relax and think of things to do things. But with boredom, they also say that's the part of the reason, is that when you pull yourself away from your TikTok, your Facebook, your YouTube, and just sit and breathe and relax, and the state of boredom. But to me, it also is different, because when you're doing like yoga, you are being active in a way, so you are stimulating yourself. And yeah, I don't know. What's your opinion on that statement?
I think that it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, like, whatever their reasoning is, I like, you did put it out very clearly there, but I don't think that it's valid,
Okay.
because there's definitely something to be said about needing to, like, unwind in a way and learn. I think the modern parlance for it now is dopamine detoxing, where because dopamine is the neurochemical of pursuing different objectives, and then once it's fulfilled, you get another shot of dopamine, but then also serotonin in your brain, which is your satisfaction,
Yes.
your inner satisfaction drug.
Ooh.
But I do think that it's the wrong thing to think that boredom is good for you.
Mm.
Rather, it's a thing of reducing the amount of overstimulation that they might be thinking. But boredom in itself, I think, is when you're not being stimulated enough or you're being stimulated in the wrong ways. And being stimulated in the wrong ways is actually the way in which overstimulation manifests itself. Think of a glutton or someone who really, really does something too much. Like it can be exercising too much, it can be watching too many movies, binge watching. But where that leads to in the end is that you become bored of the activity in which you've already done too much. And for me, that would mean get up and go for a walk. You need to do something physical. Now, the way in which I myself find boredom to be arising the most in my life is when, for some reason, I'm not able to move.
Oh, yes.
And that's that's especially the case when someone is trying to engage me in conversation and I'm trying to go somewhere or do something. Or if it's a bit of an official situation, and so it would be out of place for me to fidget. And I'm someone that either fidgets when I'm not like standing and moving my legs a bit. I'm like one of those people that always wiggles their legs when they're standing, and I stand most of the day. So when I can do that and I've had enough cardio, then I don't get fidgety. But when I'm not tuckered out, then like I'm playing with things. And even when I'm walking, I will often air tap my fingers, because I know that your body uses up the most amount of I'm very health conscious, and I do like to use as much energy as possible, because, to put it as bluntly as I can, I don't want to be fat. And so I know that it takes more energy for my brain to just make muscles move, to start that impulse, rather than exhausting those muscles with an exercise or something. So people who fidget use up something like 1,500 calories every single day just from fidgeting. That's not doing exercise, or not even their base metabolic rate, their basal rate. And for that reason, I try to fidget as much as I can.
Interesting.
Yeah, it gets to me if I can't do something physical, even while I'm conversing with you right now.
I'm sorry, I'm so boring to you.
I'm acting out my movements, and as part of a Christmas cracker toy that I got last Christmas, I have 3 little dice that I play with nowadays. I roll them in my fingers and
He fondles his nuts.
Squeeze dice. Even I would feel a bit awkward if I was fondling my nuts the whole time.
No, I can just picture you with these 2 giant metal sphere balls, and you roll them around your hands, and those are always sorry for our younger audience, but that kind of scene is always pictures in my mind is that doesn't look right. And you talking about he doing the similar motion with dice, which actually makes more sense. I know people do with a coin, but it's 3 dice. I'm okay, he moved away a little bit. If it was 2 dice, he would be very close to what I was imagining. Sorry for sidetracking there.
No, it's all right. So yeah, I keep myself busy, and I think that a lot of the time when people are bored, they actually need physical movement of some kind. So there are 2 essential components, I think, to boredom, and the converse of boredom, which is interest in my mind. And that's that you need something novel information, and you need movement. That's just because I think that our bodies constantly builds up this kind of hydraulic pressure that we need to get rid of. Otherwise, we get frustrated and like anxious.
Sure.
Which in a very real, like literal way is true, because our bodies are constantly building up lactic acid from muscle movements. And when you're inactive, fascia gets stuck in between, or like this goop gets stuck in your fascia, or your muscle fibers. And so it's literally kind of like a sticky spider web that gets in between your muscle fibers if you're not moving all the time. And I think that that's where the feeling of stiffness comes from. So
Okay.
I just try to move in all the ways I can all day, and that hasn't led me astray so far.
No, so a lot of the stuff that you mentioned speaks to me as well. Like, so audience, this is actually really into the realm of our first topic, is what causes us to become bored. And Jotun's given a very good description of what causes him to become bored, as well as our second point, which is how do you break out of that boredom zone. So since he's given that kind of thing, look, we'll still touch on it in case he has a further one, but I'll touch on one of mine as well. So I get bored in a similar way, and where you mentioned about fidgeting, there's a stereotype. I'm not sure, Jotun, if you're aware, you can tell me yes or no. Is that engineers are notorious to be fidgeters. They can't sit still. Have you heard of that stereotype before?
Who's this, Indian?
No, engineers.
Oh, engineers. Yeah.
Don't put me into a racist category. Come on, man. No, so engineers are notorious to be, they can't sit still. And I speak to that stereotype a little bit because, like you, if I'm sitting still, or if I'm sitting and I'm not doing anything with my hands, or I'm not talking to you, I begin to, like you, instead of having three dice, I almost said two dice, three dice, I have, or three die, probably is a better way of saying it. I have a squishy ball. I have like a little watch that I twirl around my, spin around like a hula hoop. I got a number of knickknacks in front of me as we speak. That I like mess around with my hands. I like shift if I'm sitting down, I spin you will see me like, if my chair can turn around, I'm like shifting between left and right, but like only like 5 degrees. So a lot of people find that so annoying by me, because they just say, Mackie, sit still. I'm like, okay. And then I sit still, and I feel, like you mentioned before, I feel like this building up of hydraulic energy of like, now I'm sitting still, but I'm having this energy building up inside me. So when I'm eventually going to be able to move, I'm going to move like 10 times as much as if I were fidgeting. So,
Yeah.
like, so leading to the first point is like, what causes me to become bored? So one of the common things is, how to say, lack of doing anything. Like if I'm chilling at home, or if I'm watching a movie, or lying down or sitting down for a long period of time, I feel very, underwhelmed, and I don't feel that kind of engagement for my mind. And I find myself like, I understand it's good to have relaxed periods. Like, unlike Jotun, I actually need a bit of energy I need a bit of rest time. Jotun is very good in keeping up with his stamina work, which I'm he's a good inspiration for me for that. But for me, I also enjoy like a little bit of downtime, because I know that when I approach my next working week, I need to have a little bit of a fresh mind, a mind that has been too engaged, a mind that's fresh enough that I can approach work with a fresh mind. And for me, when I need to break out, I do exactly what you say, Jotun, is that I need to get out of my home, walk around, go to a cafe, go check what's around, just have a walk. And I have to agree that is one of the more engaging times I have. But then when I'm done with my walk, I'm touching into the second topic the first topic of what caused me to become bored. I come back from my walk and I sit down again, and I feel like, well, now I have nothing really to do. Should I game? Should I edit an episode? Should I record an episode? And that's the kind of stuff that always gets me to kind of like, I have too many options, and then YouTube comes into the mix, and I realize that I get caught by YouTube shorts sometimes, and I'm like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. And it's such a weird, notorious cycle that sometimes I don't get into very often. I realized that I was into that cycle last week, but it was like a very short period, and then I decided, no, if this is happening, I'm still full of energy. I'm going to go exercise in the gym. and I ended up going to the gym to get some body movement, because I agree with you. If you're sitting still and you say, "Oh, I'm so bored," and you're like, "Okay, go do something," but then there are people, Jotun, I'm sure you're aware that there are people who say, "Oh, but I don't want to go to the gym today." I'm like, "Okay, let's go for a walk." I'm like, "Oh, but that's so far." But like for me and you, if you say, "Mackie, let's go for a walk," I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Or if I say, "Jotun, let's go play some squash," you're like, "Yeah, let's go do it." And they're like, "Oh, cool." So I feel like that's why me and you really click quite well, is that we have that kind of view in life, is that if you're bored, let's go do something.
Yeah, and that is, I think, the big reason why people do get bored, and it's just because they think they do one thing too much. Let's say it's work. Then all that they register in their mind is I'm tired, instead of thinking I need to change my activity. And when they do that, they like go full out 100% rest. But that's not what they need. What they actually need is just to shift to a different mode of activity. Now, an example that I like to give people all the time is that I can't even just exercise and be happy with that. I also need to be either listening to something, or else like counting, reading, or if I'm walking, then it's just paying attention to my surroundings. Like there needs to be,
Other stimuli.
yeah, like information processing paired with movement for me. Otherwise, I get bored in some way.
Likewise.
Physically bored or intellectually bored.
Okay, that speaks so well to me as well. Like, like, look, I'll go to the gym, but when you hear the same gym song over and over again, you get bored. So like, okay, well, I'm just gonna listen to some music, and that's where I started listening to podcasts, and that's where I listen to our Ramble Shamble podcast and other podcasts, because at least information is coming to my mind, and because I've done a certain exercise I'm quite comfortable with, I don't need to put I can kind of tune my mind if the exercise are pushing myself a bit more. I tune myself more into the exercise, but when I'm having that little bit of breaks in between sets, I always listen to the little bit of the podcast that I'm enjoying, and it's normally one that's fun and that I can enjoy, laugh at. So Ramble Shamble is the perfect one for me for gymming, funny enough. Now,
yeah,
that reminds me, so I definitely want to touch on one activity that causes you to become bored, more specific than just sitting at there. But one activity that caused me great boredom at the gym, so we can make it any scenario, and I think this will be a fun one to talk, is the step machine at the gym. I'm not sure, Jotun, have you been on the step machine? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, I hate
Isn't
that.
it called an elliptical?
Yes.
Is it the elliptical machine? Yeah.
Elliptical machine. I hate that machine with a passion. And the reason is that it goes at a certain speed, and obviously it's good step work. Don't get me wrong. I believe the exercise. I've been on the machine, and the exercise is good. But the slow movement of the machine, I know you can raise the level and you can start going faster. But generally, the whole point of losing weight is that you have to go at a moderate speed, not push yourself too hard, but also not too light. So when I go on that machine, I feel the machine is as you say, Jotun, is putting almost a barrier in front of me, where I can't push beyond. There's something that's in front of me and forcing me to go at this set speed. And I hate that feeling. I really hate that feeling. It causes me, and I know why, it's because it causes me such great boredom. Walking upstairs is fun, but when I'm forced to go at a certain speed, Jotun can attest to this, is that when I get tired, I'll walk faster. So, but if the step machine is making me go at a set speed, I feel like I'm not changing myself. I'm okay, this is fine, which is why I like the treadmill more, because I can up the speed faster and faster and faster, and I can start sprinting, but not with the step machine. And that one, you actually brought that to my mind, causes me great irritation and boredom. I feel like I start thinking, oh, I could be doing so many other things besides doing the step machine right now.
Yeah.
What about you, Jotun?
Yeah, treadmills and most stationary machines inside the gym are a real nuisance for me. Precisely for that reason, because you're not being presented with any kinds of new visual information or anything like that. And that's one of the beauties and relaxing things about going for a run or a walk is that you're not able to predict the information that you're going to see.
True.
Now, you could be walking on a familiar route or something, so you know that very well. But there are birds flying around and cars driving by. And I don't know, maybe there's some dodgy weather that's developing, and now you don't know if you're going to be able to make it back home before it's raining, stuff like that. So you need to be on your toes, and that's why that's relaxing.
It's such a funny thing. It's like, guys, you could go cure boredom. It's like, how? And like, just go walk outside. It's like, but it's raining. Yeah, so go outside.
So yeah, suck it up, take it on the chin, bro.
It's like, but it's hailing now. It's like, so this just means that you need to be quicker. Like, you need to get there back as quickly and efficiently as possible.
Yeah, well, I actually make it a stoic exercise to go for a walk in the rain.
Oh, really?
Or even if it's hailing every now and then, just to
Really?
remind myself that I live a cushy life and I have to suck up the suffering sometimes.
Me and you are so eager to be in pain and suffering.
Yeah, for everyone listening, we're basically just closet masochists,
Yes.
really, when you think about it.
Okay, so what's one activity or situation causes you to become bored, like an actual situation? So not just like sitting around, but like if you were going to queue or sitting at getting your ID reinstated, whatever. What causes you great boredom, Jotun?
I think the biggest cause of boredom for me is when there is truly nothing to stimulate me. And especially when I have no reason for being at a place. Like I could actually be doing something else. It's so much more worth my time. But recently I've become really comfortable with not doing anything. Yeah, like I almost just meditate whenever I would become bored in the past. But I think it's because the motivation for me to be at a place is great enough for me to actually stay. Like, let's say in the queue or something. For example, I needed to get my passport for that trip like a month ago, and I had to wait 5 hours in the queue. But I was just like, it's actually pretty important that I need to be in this queue. It's not like I've got anything else planned for today. So then I just chilled, watched the people around me or something.
No, 100%. I do that as well. Where if I'm not like need to be somewhere, I get like people say, "Oh, do you want to go do this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm very chilled," and I debate in my mind. Like I could be angry, upset, and throw a tantrum, but what's it gonna do? It's gonna waste my energy, and I'm not gonna feel good. It's not gonna solve anything. So I just go like, it happens.
Yeah, that's a very stoic mindset, and it's also what I feel. Like, if you think about it, if you get worked up because you're in a situation where you can't do something interesting, then you're just making yourself upset. And one Marcus Aurelius quote, the Roman emperor, of which I remind myself all the time, is, "This doesn't have to be a problem. It doesn't have to upset you." And what that shows is just, it's in your own power to either make it something that pisses you off or make it something that doesn't bother you.
Interesting.
Like one thing we're going on a different tangent here, but one thing he says about death is, and I think you can apply this to boredom as well, is something along the lines of, does it actually hurt you? And do you know how you're going to feel once it has happened? And then he says, so if neither of those actually hurt you, then why is it bothering you? Why is it something that you're scared of? And
Very
I think
true.
you can like, he's talking about death there, but you can apply it to boredom as well. If it doesn't harm you in any way, then how has it really affected you? So why do you care?
Those are very high thinking words. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Jotun, we're going to move to a little bit more of an engaging topic in case some of our listeners became a little bit bored from our calm and very agreeable discussion between me and you. They might want to see us do a bit more of a my one's better than your one, as per every Ramble Shamble episode.
What do they? Was that not good enough for them? Do they need some kind of like heavy metal in the background, some fireworks and stuff happening?
You tell us,
Jeez.
audience. What do you prefer?
What millennial Gen Z audience are we dealing with over here? Come on.
We're really targeting the fourth ward right now.
Yeah.
So we're gonna move to the final topic of this episode, and that is, so I'm placing both of us in a situation, and you can decide who goes first because I'm such a very generous and kind host. So I'm putting us in a situation where a friend of ours, it could be a colleague, it could be a random someone you don't even know. You choose what the association with the person is, and this person is saying, "I'm so gosh dang bored. I can't deal with this anymore." And they plead with you. Again, the association could be completely random, like a stranger if you wish, or it could be your best friend or family member. But they are so gosh dang bored, and they're pleading with you to please cure them of their boredom. Now, I believe the more creative solution could be, I specifically made a little evil smiley face when presenting this topic to Jotun, hoping that given the hint, nudge of whatever you think would cure boredom the most effectively and longest. So it's going to be an interesting topic. I'm interested to know. So Jotun, I gave you the decision. Who goes first?
I think you can go first. Just because I think that my answer is a bit off the wall. So
I'm so excited for it though. Okay, fine.
Yeah, so I want to leave the things that most people might think of up to you, so that I can throw in a curveball from left field.
Okay, so my one is quite interesting. So this person being a friend and perhaps a family member, if they would be kind enough to forgive me at a later stage. So I would say, okay, no worries. Give me a day or two to set some things up, and I'll cure your boredom for a very long period of time. And whenever you think that you're bored and you think of me, you always remind yourself that I could be doing worse. So I would go off, give them a call 2 days later, say, okay, I'm ready. Meet me at location X. I'll be here to deliver you something. So they meet me at location X. I'll greet them there and they say, great, we're going to go do a scavenger hunt. So we're going to walk around, taking some nice places that they have not really been to because they're friends, so I hope to be aware of where they have not been. We walk around, me and the friend, walk around, seeing some interesting sights, taking some photos, laughing a little bit, chatting, and then people will come up. People in masks or whatever, because I direct my friend to come down this little bit of a quieter neighborhood, bit darker, no real cameras around, and all of a sudden these people come, speed in a van, grab a mask, punch me or tase me. I will be willing to accept a tase, and they're gone. And the friend is now freaking out in the back of the car. I don't know what's going to happen. Am I going to be taken to a foreign country? Am I going to be ransomed? What's going to happen? And all of a sudden, they get dumped in a room. And then a voice speaker goes off, and there will be a speaker in this room stating, you have 1 hour to escape this room. If you fail to escape, the gas will start affecting you to start paralyzing you. If you manage to escape, you're free, and we won't bother you ever again. So this friend is now frantically solving these riddles in this one room, going from one riddle to the next, solving, and eventually, hopefully, I'm saying hopefully because I hope they do, is that they solve all the riddles, get out the room, and there they see me standing outside with a big fancy cake saying, congratulations, your boredom is now cured.
Wow.
Like I say, I hope the friend would forgive me. That's why I wouldn't say a family member, but if that would put the fear of like boredom will never bother me again, because Oh my gosh, they probably will never trust me again and probably chuck that cake straight in my face. But I cured them. That's an extreme one, okay? It's supposed to be creative. So if the audience is thinking, well, Mackie's a real sociopath, trust me, I would not really do that. If you ask me to do that in real life, I'll just probably take you to a hike or walk or go for a restaurant. Something a lot more low-key. But I want to cure that person. Something that's more like fun.
I think that was a pretty accurate description of how you would deal with such a thing.
Think so.
Yeah, man.
I'm glad I got
really accurate.
Okay, I'm glad. Look,
if someone were to tell me that you did something like that, I'd be like, yeah, that sounds like Mackie.
Look, the whole thing about the kidnapping might be slightly different. Like, I might have like a bunch of friends like kidnap them like that way. But I like the feeling of like putting them in a situation of fear, because when you're in fear, your mind's going into so many different modes. You probably would have forgotten your boredom ages ago. And I just think that the notion that you're trapped in a room and this gas is being pumped in. Now, I didn't state, but the gas that's being pumped in is steam. So basically, it's all nitrogen fumes. So it is not liquid nitrogen, the gas from liquid nitrogen. So it's not going to cause them any problem. So if they were to fail the escape room within an hour, I would open the door and say, you failed the riddle, but here's a cake. Please forgive me. I'm a great prick. So I probably had a little rhyme there.
Yeah. Okay, so my solutions to boredom. I have two.
Go for it.
And I'm not going to go into too much depth with them, but I do feel that they're nice and interesting.
I'm excited for this.
Yeah. So the first cure for boredom is to basically give someone a really big problem in their life to deal with. So screw up their life in some way. And if there's one, it's basically a broader version of what you suggested. Because basically, whenever there's something in your life that happens that is so important, it's such a big problem that you can't not deal with it right now, immediately, then I think it's safe to say that you are fully engaged with what you're dealing with. And so that's actually a little bit linked with my second idea, which is throw some kind of crisis at the person. Like, never let a good crisis go to waste. And when someone is dealing with a crisis, I think that, again, they are fully engaged. And it's so important that literally the entirety of the rest of their life is put on the side so that they can deal with whatever's going on. So yeah, that's a nice way. And I think that you can even apply it to more sanitized problems by dealing with or treating everything in your life as if it's a crisis that needs to be dealt with. If you don't prepare your food right now for dinner, you're not going to eat tonight. So it has to happen right now. If you don't do this Excel spreadsheet right now, you won't get paid at the end of the month. Like, just you gotta make it seem like a bit more of an ultimatum for yourself. You gotta play games with yourself, and that's actually how I managed to get some good grades in high school and in university. I convinced myself that the work which I actually wasn't interested in was the most fascinating thing in the world, and like how could I not learn this? It's so cool. Like, why wouldn't I just want to learn the ins and outs of it? And then, like, every fact that I learned, I'd be like, oh geez, that's so awesome. You know, you gotta trick yourself. You gotta be a bit of a manipulator on yourself. And that's how I managed to like suck up the fact that I had to be studying for 2 hours or something.
So I just want to ask, which crisis scenario would you take or dump this person into? Would it be like a war? Would it be like a stranded on an island, or would it be what would the crisis be? What would you plan for them?
Well, I think the only way you can really go about it is just by being a real dick. if you think about it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So how far does Ryotan's mind go into
We're going.
ruining this
Okay,
person's
everyone,
life?
we're going to go real sadistic here.
Please
okay.
go for it.
So
That's the whole point of this topic.
it'll be something like, Mackie, he couldn't really get a hold of you, and his battery was about to die. So your dad called me, and your mom's in the hospital.
Oh no. Jeez.
Like some things didn't turn out. Some financial things have gone a bit south, and your dad said that you need to pay right now to have this treatment done for your mom. I don't know where you're going to get the money from, but it needs to happen. It needs to happen right now. Just think how much of your world and your consciousness would be focusing on getting that money for your mom right now. That's not something you can escape from.
What?
Or maybe a positive spin. Mackie, a few months ago, I decided to take a chance on life, and I entered a competition for a romantic getaway for a couple to Hawaii.
I'm so honored.
You've won. You've won it with me. You're flying tomorrow, and I'm meeting you on Heathrow tomorrow afternoon. So pack your bags. We're going to Hawaii tomorrow. I don't know what we're going to do with like all the roses and stuff in the bed and all the free chocolates and things.
Oh, dude.
But we're flying tomorrow, bro. See you then. And then like in 8 hours time or something, after you've packed and it's 3 a.m. in the morning, you're just like super tired. I'll be like, oh, sorry, bro. It was just a gag. Like I didn't do anything. It's not happening. Sorry.
Look, if that ever does happen and you need but this is a couple, if I don't approach there, I would so fake it with you. I feel like me and you would fake it too. We wouldn't like do like any kind of kissy stuff too. But we would fake it just to kind of.
Dude, I have my price. Like, if they are treating me enough, I would totally be down to smooch you, to lay some smooches on you. If it was like a whole week in Hawaii, dude, like I'd be willing to act it up like hectic.
Like free, Hawaii. I'm picturing like this amazing buffet. All like the hotel expenses are paid for. You like have this obviously everything. The first class suites and everything. I would fake it with you. I would we would fake it to make it. But like when we're at the room, we'd like do our own things or we go to the spa or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that would be such an awesome trip.
It's like TripAdvisor's week-long getaway for up and coming homosexual partners. And they have a photographer there to show how much you guys are enjoying the experience and how people are enjoying the charity of TripAdvisor for gay pride in New York or something.
But be honest, our families would support us. Not like they would be knowing this was like some kind of gag, but they would love the photos that would come from it.
Yeah.
Well, I know my family
definitely would. And they'd torture me for the rest of my life of me, my romantic mishap with Mackie.
Oh man, I wish this was a real thing. That would be so funny. But I feel like that's also, so we're coming to the end of this episode, and I just want to touch on one last thing before we give out the stick of where you can find Ramble Shamble, even though you found us. But I found that this, if definitely speaking with a friend like yourself, Jotun, and speaking about or doing something like a project like this, for me is one of the best ways to break out of boredom, because I've done like going exercise, going for a walk, but speaking with someone like yourself, Jotun, or a friend, and working on something like a project like Ramble Shamble, it definitely has helped me from being overly bored, because my mind's almost not like it's like a heavy pressure, but my mind's constantly thinking, I have something to do, I can do something. And I actually tried to pace myself from editing like an episode every day or doing this because I know that's going to just tire me out. But that is where I really enjoy that. This helps cures my boredom. And I don't know, do you feel the same way? What's your opinion on that?
Well, it's certainly given me a lot of things to think about. And I think that I've grown in as much as sometimes when I say things, like people in my life often tell me that I have more wisdom than I should for someone my age. And I was forced to become mature quite early in my life. But then sometimes I'll just tell you something that seems logical to me. And then your reaction to that will make me realize how much words can mean, but then also how much my own interactions with the people around me can have an effect on my world and their worlds as well. So, for example, now, a few months ago, we talked about World War One, and when we were talking about, well, when we were in the planning phases of that episode, and you suggested the topic, then I remember I was telling you something about like the brutality of war and how it's glorified nowadays. And then you were like, oh crap, we need to put some kind of a disclaimer up in the episode. And I said to you, I don't think we need to, because this is a serious topic. And I think that anybody who doesn't know that going in is an idiot. But then when I thought about it a bit more, I realized like some people just, they are sold the idea of the glory of war, and they don't realize about the casualties and the brutality of it. It's just been so sanitized for us in media. And it made me realize that a lot of people don't take the time to think about things like what would they do in a war scenario? Or this is a bit dark, but it's something that I also thought about recently when I was talking to someone else is what would you be willing to do as a soldier or someone in war? And do you like how do you think you would deal with having to kill someone? Now, that's got nothing to do with this episode, but it is something that I have thought about and I've recently been thinking about. But I never would have if I didn't do that episode with you.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. Then, when you say you've grown, Jotun, I feel exactly likewise. So this is, guys, just to let you know, this is how Jotun and I get together. Okay. First step to going to the Hawaii vacation that we've planned. But I definitely agree with you, Jotun. A lot of the topics that you mentioned to me, I'm thinking, I'm not that experienced in this, but this is pushing me to go investigate, read this up, research this. And I know things now that I would not normally know, which is both amazing and frightening. That like one of the episodes that I really loved was the one with the mysteries that are still unsolved to this day, and I really enjoyed that part with where those Russian people were just missing, the
Dyatlov Pass
yes,
incident.
Yes, and that I kid you not, I think about that now. I think about how does this happen? Why? And when I'm thinking about Italy, the first thing that comes to my mind is the island of death, and I'm thinking, do you think I will be able to see it if I went to Italy and Venice? But that is a very good point, and I think we are.
Wait, what? Venice? Don't you mean Venice?
I know it's Venice. I'll just say Venice to make it fun. I'm sorry,
guys.
To
to sound like you come from France.
From France. But I 100% agree with you. Like, these topics have made me think. And when we had that little break during Christmas times, I was craving to listen to another episode or talk another topic with you because it's stimulating to me, and it's definitely one of my highlights for the week. So, yeah, 100%. But I think we're at the end of the episode. But before we start, I do hope that we inspired you guys to possibly go listen to some of those other episodes that are very interesting and make you think about the world in a different way. it's definitely a way to cure boredom, I can guarantee, because we covered an array of topics right now. So you guys have a plethora, if I said that probably wrong, pronunciated wrong, but we have a large variety of episodes that we cover, and there's most likely something for you. If you're looking for fashion, unfortunately you're on the wrong podcast, because how do we talk about this fashion when you can't actually see it and we're just saying it? It doesn't make sense. But who knows, we might talk about that next time. But guys, if you don't know, we stream these podcasts on almost every podcasting platform. Perhaps you listen to this on Spotify and you're thinking, oh, but I have a cool Apple phone, I don't want to use Spotify all the time. Go to Apple, we are on there, and we're on Google Stitcher, Pocket Podcasts, Podcast Addict. There's so many versions out there, but we're on pretty much all of them. We're also on YouTube, so you can comment on the videos, and for all those platforms, we do appreciate giving us a like, 5-star, good review, sharing our podcast with everyone around you. And if you guys want to be part of the Ramble Shamble community, join our Discord is the best way to do it. And that is quite easy. You can find us via the link in the descriptions. Type in Ramble Shamble Discord on Google or Bing or whatever browser search that you want to use, and you should find our Discord quite easily. And once you join, you can play games with us, chat with us, perhaps join us in a podcast episode, or even suggest a podcast episode. But I'll let Jotun decide on, obviously, the question for the episode, because he does a very good job. I hope I've given him enough time, but those questions are important for our Ramble Shamble. Jotun, take it away.
Yeah, everyone. So tell us, who do you think had the best solution to boredom? And what do you guys think is the cause behind boredom? I don't think that you guys can provide too much input on what we were saying about how we would solve boredom. Or did I ask that?
Yeah, you did say that. How we solve boredom, and what are the causes for boredom?
Oh yeah, so not what who you think of us had the better reason for what causes boredom, but what you think. That's what we want to know. Because we can't think of every solution under the sun, but you guys can. With your help, we can probably make an extensive overview of this entire topic and what boredom actually is, where it comes from. So please let us know what you think the cause of boredom is and which of our solutions was better. That we use for a smaller episode, which we call Ramble Shamble, because it's just a little piece or just a little bit of the main episode. And we talk about that for, again, a small piece, 10, 15 minutes, and then throw it out there for you guys to enjoy. And the name of that playlist is Ramble Shamble. You can check at the linked episode for this as well. Maybe not immediately, but somewhere down the line. And you'll find its corresponding Ramble Shamble episode. Or look at the playlist of Ramble Shamble episodes as well. But that's it for today, I guess. Oh, I have one thing to recommend for anyone that is bored as well. It's a little bit of a easier mental trick, and it does require a bit of imagination. And that's just imagine that you're a foreigner or a tourist in your natural, like in the place where you live now. Try to view your very well-known surroundings as a new place and as a tourist. And I can almost guarantee you'll notice something about where you are that you normally don't notice. And you'll probably look at your life in a fresh new way. One of my favorite things that I did when I was a bit down a few years ago was I was playing the game The Outer Worlds at the time. And so I just tried to imagine that all the trees were like purple or bubbles or something. Like, you can really have a lot of fun with it. Just like let your imagination carry you away.
I like that. Okay, guys, that's gonna conclude our episode of Ramble Shamble. Again, we try post on every Thursday, and until then, bye from Mackie.
Bye, everyone.